I became a fan, and he's just so much better than what he appears to be. Look what he looks.
You know what? We'll wait. So I was 16 and I come in the adult division. I was 100 kilos. That's how it started. And we've been doing great.
Rico is a fighting, that's all he ever knows. He's been doing it from being a baby. He's very highly driven. He's a good listener. You know, you rely on your team. The team is me and Dennis. Dennis Croweel's gym is super pro. He's even better. So we're there. Rico's been going there from the beginning.
Mike Tyson admits he was never fully convinced by training fighters before, but says Rico Verhoeven changed his mindset during camp. Tyson sounds impressed by Rico's toughness, discipline, and work ethic ahead of the fight with Oleksandr Usyk. Tyson says Rico pushed himself to the limit physically and mentally throughout training camp, showing the mentality needed for a huge fight at the highest level. His comments make it clear that Rico earned his respect through hard work, pressure, and determination.
Mike, so when a super fight's announced like this, you've obviously been in many of these super fights before. How much pressure is it on a guy to deliver on the biggest stage?
Hey, listen, man. This is the biggest moment of your life. This is the moment we always dreamed of, being a super fighter. Every time I fight, the whole world is watching, and this is just a dream come true for both of the fighters. Both of you guys came from nothing. Heavyweight champion. You have nothing to do but to respect that. I understand that. I had that.
Mike Tyson admits he was never fully convinced about training fighters before, but says Rico Verhoeven completely changed his mindset during camp. Tyson sounds genuinely impressed by Rico's toughness, discipline, and work ethic while preparing for the fight with Oleksandr Usyk. He even suggests that Rico has the mentality to be pushed right to the edge both physically and mentally, showing the kind of determination needed for a massive challenge at the highest level.
I don't throw much of this training stuff, but I see I can push him, and I can.
He's not used to it. I'm a kickboxer. Two worlds are colliding.
This is a serious physical monster. This is a guy who's one of the greatest kickboxers.
Tony Bellew makes it clear that Rico Verhoeven is an extremely dangerous fighter in a kickboxing setting, especially because of his power, aggression, and physical presence. However, Bellew also believes that boxing becomes a completely different challenge once Oleksandr Usyk settles into his rhythm and begins controlling the pace of the fight. According to Bellew, Usyk's ring IQ, movement, timing, and ability to adapt round after round could slowly turn the contest into a very difficult and uncomfortable night for Rico. His comments suggest that while Rico's toughness and athleticism are respected, the technical demands and strategic depth of elite-level boxing still heavily favor Usyk over time.
It's a kickboxing match. I'm trying to tell you, Alexander's in an awful lot of trouble. Do not take a kick off him. Thankfully for Oleksandr Usyk, this is a boxing match. And I think once them first 3 or 4 rounds pass, and that awkwardness and stance and style Oleksandr Usyk figures out, I think Rico could be in for a hard night's work.
I mean, someone's saying it could change boxing forever if he wins, Rico. How does Rico go about trying to solve that puzzle of Usyk?
It'd be the greatest shock boxing's ever seen. If Rico Verhoeven is to defeat Oleksandr Usyk, it will be the greatest victory in boxing history.
Listen, when I was young, I too using kickboxing, boxing, but I like.
Nobody told me that.
I like, but not like this. Yeah, the crazy man, you know, the legs.
Maybe he throws a high kick.
Yeah, but I like kick and legs on street. Oof, yeah, low kick, my giri. That's
nice.
Yeah, we training when I. But then my coach, it's not kickboxing coach, it's like jiu-jitsu, you know, wrestling, boxing is one coach, but another sport is like a crazy man. But then I look for a good coach. It's my first coach, Lapin, Sergey, yes, it's, oh, good. My father said, hey, try boxing. I say, okay.
And here you are.
Huh?
And here you are. You tried it and you've done well.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson appears to be giving detailed technical guidance to Rico Verhoeven ahead of the fight with Oleksandr Usyk, focusing on timing, pressure, and tactical adjustments needed to deal with Usyk's elite boxing ability. The moment suggests Tyson is taking an active role in Rico's preparation, helping him understand how to approach a highly skilled and intelligent boxer like Usyk. His involvement highlights the importance of strategy, movement, and mental preparation when facing someone with Usyk's experience and ring IQ. Max Kellerman highlights Oleksandr Usyk's elite physical and technical condition, saying he's shown no signs of decline and may even look stronger than before ahead of the fight with Rico Verhoeven. Kellerman emphasizes that Usyk appears completely focused, disciplined, and fully prepared, operating at the highest level both mentally and physically. In his view, Usyk still looks like a fighter performing at his absolute peak going into this massive showdown.
Dude, he's so big now. Have you seen him? You seen the most recent photos? He put some photos on Instagram of him training, and he took pictures of him with his shirt off. You're like, what? Jesus Christ. He looks like he's about 250 now, something like that. And he's a big giant dude. He's always been a big giant dude, but he's like super muscled.
Space, and I can see how the monetization vehicle of this works. But Usyk wouldn't be doing this unless there's a reason for it. There must be a motivation behind it. It must be some form of derivative as to what happened between the various disciplines crossing over within Ghana.
Rico Verhoeven is walking into one of the biggest and most dangerous tests in modern combat sports against Oleksandr Usyk. Tony Bellew highlights Usyk's victories over elite heavyweights such as Tyson Fury and Daniel Dubois to show why many people currently see him as almost unstoppable at the top level of boxing. Bellew explains that Usyk's movement, timing, ring IQ, conditioning, and ability to adapt during fights have made him one of the most complete heavyweights in the world. That is why the challenge facing Rico is viewed as so extreme. If Rico manages to overcome a fighter performing at Usyk's current level, it would be considered an incredible achievement in combat sports because very few fighters have been able to deal with Usyk's skill, discipline, and experience at the elite level.
Big now. Have you seen him? You seen the most recent photos? He put some photos on Instagram of him training, and he took pictures of him with his shirt off. You're like, what? Jesus Christ. He looks like he's about 250 now, something like that. And he's a big giant dude. He's always been a big giant dude, but he's like super muscled.
Rico Verhoeven explains his fighting mindset by describing himself as a calculated and precise striker who prefers to stay patient and only fully commit when the timing is right. He emphasizes that his approach has always been based on control, accuracy, and reading openings rather than rushing recklessly into exchanges. Rico also talks about the transition from kickboxing into boxing, explaining that his focus has now shifted far more toward hand combinations, punch placement, timing, and developing stronger boxing-specific power, instead of relying on kicks and a wider striking arsenal. He is adapting his style to fit the demands and rhythm of professional boxing at the same time. Rico sounds excited by the challenge and confident that his striking ability, physical strength, and experience under pressure can translate effectively into the boxing ring as he prepares for this massive test against Oleksandr Usyk.
It's like very calculated, but yeah, when I connect, I connect. Like I said, there's a lot of weight behind these punches. So yeah, of course, within the kickboxing sport, I was used to just throwing the kicks and doing my thing, but now we get the opportunity to use the hands more. So Peter is like, oh, he's like crazy.
The speaker strongly questions the logic behind Oleksandr Usyk taking a fight against Rico Verhoeven, pointing out Rico's very limited experience in professional boxing compared to the elite level Usyk operates at. While crossover fights have become more common in combat sports, the criticism here is that Usyk represents a completely different level of technical refinement and boxing intelligence than many fighters involved in previous crossover events.
This is not a fight I am a massive fan of, and now that I'm free, now that I can kind of, be more open about my opinions on this fight, I fucking hate this fight. I can't stand it. I understand the circus nature of it in terms of like big name kickboxer, one of the best of all time, if not the best of all time, coming in to fight an all-time great in the boxing space in his sport. We saw it with Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. The only difference there was, I think, more fans of Francis Ngannou, more of a what-if factor because of his...
Fabio Wardley expresses mixed feelings about the matchup involving Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven. While he acknowledges that Usyk has earned the right to choose his opponents after everything he has achieved in boxing, he also questions the competitive logic behind facing a fighter whose background is primarily in kickboxing rather than elite professional boxing.
Kind of earned the right to do what you want, but I at least expected it to be some sort of active boxer, someone of some... Not to say I don't actually know much about Verhoeven in terms of a kickboxer, of what his quality level is, but what I'm saying is I expected it to be someone of a decent caliber of a professional boxer. But if it's not, then fine. Look, do your thing, do you, and hopefully he returns to actual professional boxing against some of the top elites.
The discussion surrounding Rico Verhoeven receiving a WBC heavyweight title opportunity centers heavily on questions of boxing merit and competitive legitimacy. Critics point to Rico's limited professional boxing experience compared to Oleksandr Usyk, who is widely regarded as the undisputed #1 heavyweight in the world and one of the most accomplished fighters of his generation.
This is a joke. This is nothing but a gimmick fight, and it's even more shameless considering the fact, one, it's on pay-per-view, and two, it's for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. Does Rico Verhoeven, with his one win over a decade ago against the guy who was 0-5, deserve a world title shot? Answers on a postcard. Can you play the recorder? No. That's the answer. This is shocking. Shocking stuff from Oleksandr Usyk. This is Oleksandr Usyk picking money.
Peter Fury explains that the fight between Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven comes down to mutual willingness from both sides, saying that both fighters genuinely wanted the matchup to happen. He describes them as true fighting men who are always prepared to test themselves against elite opposition regardless of background or discipline.
Rico wanted the fight, Usyk wanted it. They said both ultimate fighting men, aren't they? So fights like this are not going to be hard to make.
Dave Allen shares a personal and balanced perspective on the matchup between Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven. He openly acknowledges Rico's greatness in kickboxing, describing him as one of the best kickboxers of all time and giving him credit for the striking ability and athleticism he brings into combat sports that at the same time. Allen still questions Rico's place in elite heavyweight boxing, arguing that while Rico clearly has some boxing ability, it does not automatically justify stepping into the ring against the best heavyweight boxer in the world. In Allen's view, there is still a huge difference between having crossover boxing skills and competing at the highest championship level against someone as technically complete and experienced as Usyk.
So that's where the decision came from like, I think, yeah, we did it all within glory.
Okay, you had conquered the mountain multiple times, you fought them all, you beat them all. I can understand the desire to want something new. And so shortly thereafter, we start to hear, at least for me, the order was, all right, I remember finding out that you left on my way to the Jake.
Rico Verhoeven reflects on his position in combat sports as a long-reigning elite kickboxing champion who has already achieved major success throughout his career. At the same time, he openly recognizes Oleksandr Usyk as a technically superior and dominant force in professional boxing, showing clear admiration for everything Usyk has accomplished at the highest level of the sport. Rather than presenting the matchup as just another fight, Rico frames it as a deeply personal challenge and possibly the ultimate achievement of his combat sports journey. He describes the opportunity to face someone of Usyk's level as the cherry on the cake of his career, suggesting that testing himself against one of boxing's greatest modern champions would represent the final and biggest challenge imaginable.
A little bit, but those early rounds, you've got to be very, very careful. For me, Tyson being out of the ring as long as he has, you go, that's a relatively dangerous opponent to come back to.
Yeah, I think Makhmudov's dangerous. I would describe him as dangerous. I wouldn't describe him as a world-class heavyweight.
Yeah.
He's dangerous. He's perfect for Tyson. Tyson Fury from 2 or 3 years ago.
Aladipo highlights Rico Verhoeven's incredible legacy in kickboxing, describing his journey from being viewed as the prince of the sport to eventually becoming its dominant king. The focus is on Rico's years of success, consistency, and long-term control at the highest level of kickboxing competition, Oladipo emphasizes Rico's elite striking ability, physical presence, and experience in high-pressure fights, while also noting that although Rico possesses respectable boxing hands, pure boxing has never been the core identity of his combat style. His reputation was built primarily through kickboxing dominance, rather than traditional professional boxing development.
Oleksandr Usyk steps in and will take on one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. I'm actually quite a big kickboxing fan, so I know quite a lot about him. I've watched a few of his fights over the years. They used to call him the Prince of Kickboxing, then he elevated to the King of Kickboxing. I mean, he's a very, very, very good kickboxer who's got decent hands.
Oleksandr Usyk describes the fight against Rico Verhoeven as a serious and demanding challenge, openly acknowledging Rico as a dangerous and highly respected champion in the world of kickboxing. While many people view the matchup as a major crossover spectacle, Usyk makes it clear that he is approaching it as genuine high-level competition rather than simple entertainment.